Aliens premiered in 1986 and redefined what a sequel could be. Director James Cameron transformed Ridley Scott's horror formula into a high-energy military action thriller. These are 20 hidden details you completely missed in Aliens. Number 20. Most of Aliens was filmed at Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire, England, a facility that also hosted Star Wars and James Bond productions. The studio was selected because filming in the United Kingdom cost significantly less than Hollywood, and Pinewood offered massive sound stages for the colony interiors and alien hive sets. However, this created unexpected complications. James Cameron clashed with the British crew over workplace traditions like extended tea breaks that interrupted filming. These cultural differences escalated until first assistant director Derek Cracknell was fired, prompting the crew to walk off set. Cameron and producer Gail Ann Hurd held emergency meetings to resolve grievances before production could continue. The tension remained throughout the 75-day shooting schedule beginning September 1985. Number 19. The eerie alien hive and atmospheric processing station exteriors were filmed at the decommissioned Acton Lane Power Station in London, which closed in 1983. The abandoned industrial complex provided the perfect location for Cameron's vision of a ruined colony overrun by xenomorphs. Production designer Peter Lamont and his team spent significant money removing dangerous asbestos before construction could begin. The elaborate sets built inside were so expensive that they remained standing after filming wrapped. 3 years later, when director Tim Burton arrived to film Batman in 1989, his crew discovered most of the aliens' hive sets still intact, including distinctive red railings and metal stairways. Burton's team repurposed the location as the Axis Chemicals factory. Number 18. Before Aliens went into production, Cameron faced skepticism from 20th Century Fox executives who weren't convinced a sequel would succeed. According to Hollywood Legend, which Cameron confirmed in interviews, he pitched the project by walking into the boardroom and writing "Alien" on a whiteboard. He then added an S and transformed it into a $sign, creating Alien $sign as a visual promise the sequel would make money. The aggressive pitch worked, and Fox greenlit the project with an $18 million budget after Cameron's success with The Terminator in 1984 convinced them he could deliver a blockbuster. The film ultimately earned over $180 million worldwide, proving Cameron's prediction correct and establishing Aliens as one of 1986's highest-grossing films. Number 17. Sigourney Weaver didn't just perform Ellen Ripley's dialogue during production, she actively shaped how the character would react throughout the film. Weaver frequently discussed Ripley's motivations with Cameron on set, suggesting adjustments to scenes based on her understanding of the character's trauma from the first film and her protective instincts toward Newt. Cameron welcomed these contributions, allowing Weaver to modify moments where she felt Ripley's emotional responses needed adjustment. Weaver's involvement extended beyond dialogue to physical performance. She practiced daily with the film's 3 weapons, a flamethrower, submachine gun, and grenade launcher, ensuring she appeared proficient despite the extreme weight. Her commitment to developing Ripley's psychological depth and physical presence earned Weaver an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. Number 16. One of the film's most iconic moments occurs when Ripley confronts the alien queen threatening Newt and delivers the line, "Get away from her, you bitch." The memorable confrontation had to be filmed in a single take because the production schedule at Pinewood Studios was running dangerously behind and time had run out for multiple attempts. Weaver reportedly believed she had delivered the line poorly and wanted another chance to perform it, but James Cameron decided the take captured exactly the raw emotion he wanted and kept it in the final cut. The scene occurs during the climactic battle when Ripley arrives in the power loader exosuit to save Newt from the Queen. Despite Weaver's reservations, the line became one of the most quoted moments in science fiction cinema history. Number 15. The terrifying alien queen remains one of the most complex practical effects created during the 1980s. Special effects legend Stan Winston designed the creature, which stood approximately 14 feet tall and required an army of operators to bring to life. The massive animatronic used hydraulic systems, control rods, cables, and a crane suspended above to support its weight during filming at Shepperton Studios. 2 puppeteers were positioned inside the suit operating the Queen's massive arms, while up to 16 additional operators controlled various appendages, the hydraulic head and neck movements, and facial features including lips, jaw, and tongue. Winston's team first built a crude proof-of-concept model in a parking lot behind his studio using foam core and black garbage bags. Every scene featuring the Queen was filmed in camera with no post-production digital manipulation. Number 14. Many of the alien Queen's terrifying shrieks, hisses, and breathing sounds originated from an unexpected source, the director himself. During post-production sessions, Cameron recorded his own vocal performances, including growling, shrieking, and heavy breathing noises. Sound designers then heavily modified these recordings, layering them with animal sounds and electronic effects to create the Queen's distinctive vocalizations. The director's creative involvement extended beyond directing into nearly every aspect of production, from designing props to performing creature vocals. The Queen's voice needed to convey both alien menace and a disturbingly maternal quality, especially during scenes where she commands her drones or reacts to threats against her eggs. Listen closely during the Queen's first appearance in the egg chamber for the heavily processed organic quality captured by sound designer Don Sharp and mixed at Skywalker Sound. Number 13. Unlike modern CGI creatures, the alien warriors were portrayed by dancers, gymnasts, and stunt performers wearing full-body creature suits. However, the production faced a significant limitation. Only a few alien suits were built due to budget constraints. Cameron used clever editing tricks, strategic lighting, and carefully planned camera angles to create the illusion of dozens of xenomorphs attacking the Colonial Marines. Editor Ray Lovejoy worked closely with the director to cut between shots rapidly, preventing audiences from counting the actual number of creatures on screen. The aliens often appear briefly in shadows, emerging from darkness or moving through smoke and fire, helping conceal the limited number of costumes. The suits designed by John Mallow were more flexible than the single costume used in Ridley Scott's original film. Number 12. Ripley's iconic power loader exosuit wasn't created with special effects trickery. It was built as a fully functional practical prop. Special effects supervisor John Richardson constructed the machine from aluminum, fiberglass, and PVC plastic, with the finished loader weighing approximately 600 pounds. Stuntman John Lees was concealed inside the rig, positioned directly behind Weaver, operating the mechanical arms and legs while hidden from camera view. Lees wore dark clothing that blended into the power loader's internal structure, making him invisible in the final footage. The loader included hidden counterweights disguised as machine components to help balance Weaver's weight. For wider shots during the Queen battle, a miniature power loader was used, requiring 5 puppeteers to operate through cable and rod systems. Number 11. The armored personnel carrier transporting the Colonial Marines into Hadley's Hope wasn't designed from scratch. It was built using a real airport pushback tractor, normally used to move Boeing 747 aircraft on tarmacs. The production team selected the massive industrial vehicle for its imposing size and powerful appearance, then heavily modified it to resemble futuristic military hardware. Art department crews added armor plating panels, mounted weapon systems, installed atmospheric lighting, and applied weathered paint finishes to transform the civilian equipment into the film's iconic APC. The vehicle's heavy industrial design perfectly matched Cameron's vision of practical blue-collar future technology rather than sleek science fiction aesthetics. Peter Lamont and his team emphasized functional, worn equipment that looked lived in and battle-tested. Number 10. The iconic EM-41. Pulse rifles carried by the Colonial Marines weren't purely fictional props. They were constructed using genuine firearms. James Cameron sketched the weapon design, and British armorers at Bapty & Company built the rifles by combining M1A1 Thompson submachine guns with Remington 870 shotgun components. The distinctive shroud covering the barrel was created from a franchise Spaz 12 shotgun forend mounted over the cut-down Remington 870, which served as the underbarrel grenade launcher. Custom-made aluminum shells were hand-fabricated and painted with brown Bess paint, though on-set lighting made them appear olive green in the final film. Several practical weapons capable of firing blank rounds were constructed, allowing actors to fire realistic blanks during intense firefight scenes. Number 9. Carrie Henn, the 9-year-old girl who played Newt, faced an unusual challenge during production. She wasn't actually frightened by the alien creatures. Henn liked the actors wearing the xenomorph suits and found them friendly rather than terrifying, making it difficult for her to deliver convincing screams and fearful reactions during chase sequences. To help her perform the necessary terror, Cameron and the crew instructed Henn to imagine being chased by a dog instead of aliens, which successfully triggered genuine fear responses. Between takes, cast members including Weaver and Bill Paxton spent time with Henn, coloring and crafting together to keep her comfortable on the intense set. Weaver formed a particularly close bond with Henn during the grueling shooting schedule, and their genuine affection translated into the authentic mother-daughter dynamic visible on screen. Number 8. The massive nuclear explosion that destroys Hadley's Hope looks devastatingly realistic, yet it was created using surprisingly simple practical techniques. The effects team at Pinewood Studios filmed a bright light shining through layers of cotton or smoke material, then photographed the expanding illumination in extreme slow motion to simulate the massive blast wave. By varying the light intensity and material density, they created the appearance of a thermonuclear detonation without complex miniature work or composite shots. The technique relied relied on understanding how light behaves when filtered through translucent materials and filmed at high frame rates by Adrian Biddle. John Richardson oversaw the practical explosion effects throughout production. Number 7. In an unconventional filming approach, several early scenes showing the Colonial Marines together were actually shot near the end of the production schedule rather than in chronological story order. James Cameron deliberately scheduled these sequences last so the actors would have already spent weeks working together, developing genuine camaraderie and chemistry. By the time they filmed scenes of the Marines joking, trading insults, and displaying their tight-knit unit cohesion, actors like Bill Paxton, Jeanette Goldstein, and Michael Biehn had formed real friendships. This authentic bond between cast members made the Marines' interactions feel natural and lived in. Watch the early dropship and APC sequences carefully, and you'll notice the actors display a comfort level that came from months of shared experience. Number 6. James Cameron initially planned to film aliens in the wider 2.35:1 anamorphic aspect ratio commonly used for epic science fiction films. This would have given the movie a more cinematic and expansive visual style. However, technical concerns about maintaining image quality during the complex visual effects sequences led him to shoot in the more standard 1.85:1 aspect ratio using 35mm film instead. The decision was primarily driven by the need to preserve sharpness and detail when combining practical effects elements like alien creatures, miniatures, and muzzle flashes from the pulse rifles. Adrian Biddle used the narrower aspect ratio to emphasize tight spaces, creating visual compression that heightened the sense of the Marines being trapped and surrounded. Number 5. The original Ridley Scott film never showed or mentioned a queen controlling the xenomorphs, leaving their reproductive biology mysterious. James Cameron introduced the queen concept during development, drawing inspiration from insect colonies that operate under hierarchical structures with a single reproductive female. This addition fundamentally expanded the franchise mythology, establishing that xenomorphs function as a eusocial species rather than simply individual predators. The queen's existence explained the massive egg chamber discovered by the Marines and provided a climactic antagonist for the protagonist to confront. The concept included the Queen's distinctive crown-like head crest designed by Stan Winston, her larger size, and the egg-laying ovipositor that roots her to the hive. The idea became permanent franchise mythology, appearing in subsequent films, comics, novels, and video games. Number 4. Despite the film's technical complexity, massive sets, intricate creature effects, and ambitious action sequences, principal photography lasted only approximately 75 days from September 1985 through January 1986. This relatively compressed schedule was typical for the mid-1980s, but remarkably brief considering the scope accomplished. The tight timeline meant many scenes required precise choreography with limited opportunities for multiple takes, forcing the cast and crew to work efficiently under constant time pressure. The director's demanding style clashed with the British crew's more relaxed pace, creating production conflicts that nearly derailed filming. However, the deadline also forced creative problem-solving and practical ingenuity that contributed to the film's gritty aesthetic. The production stayed on schedule and within its $18 million budget, with Gale Anne Hurd, Peter Lamont, and Adrian Biddle managing the demanding schedule. Number 3. While Ridley Scott's original Alien was a deliberate horror film emphasizing slow-building psychological tension and isolation, James Cameron completely reinvented the franchise as a military science fiction action thriller. This tonal shift allowed the sequel to explore different themes while expanding the universe with new elements like the Colonial Marines, the Sulaco spaceship, and large-scale alien infestations. Cameron drew inspiration from Vietnam War films and Robert Heinlein's novel Starship Troopers, creating an overconfident military force unprepared for the enemy they face. The Marines' modern military equipment, tactical language, and squad dynamics contrasted sharply with the blue-collar space truckers from the first film. This transformation from horror to action became the template for franchise expansion, demonstrating that sequels could succeed by changing genres rather than simply repeating formulas. Number 2. Aliens received 7 Academy Award nominations, an unusual achievement for a science fiction action film during an era when the Academy typically ignored genre movies. The film won 2 Oscars for Best Sound Effects Editing and Best Visual Effects, recognizing the technical achievements of the practical effects, creature design, and audio work. The nominations also included Best Actress for Sigourney Weaver, making her only the 3rd actress in Academy history to be nominated for a horror or science fiction performance after Ellen Burstyn Burstyn for The Exorcist and Sissy Spacek for Carrie. Weaver's nomination was considered shocking at the time, because action performances typically received no awards consideration regardless of quality. The recognition demonstrated that the Academy community could appreciate exceptional work regardless of genre when the performance and craftsmanship were undeniable. Number 1. The theatrical version of Aliens concludes with Ripley, Newt, Hicks, and the damaged Bishop entering hypersleep after defeating the alien queen, but James Cameron originally filmed a significantly different ending sequence. The extended cut includes an additional scene showing the group safely arriving back at Gateway Station, where Ripley and Newt walk through the station's sterile corridors. This peaceful resolution provided explicit closure, confirming the characters survived their journey home rather than leaving them in hypersleep. However, test audiences and studio executives at 20th Century Fox felt the extra footage diminished the film's emotional impact and tension. Cameron agreed to cut the Gateway Station arrival, believing the theatrical ending was more powerful by leaving the survivors in hypersleep and trusting viewers to imagine their safe return. Aliens remains one of the most influential science fiction films ever made, combining groundbreaking practical effects with unforgettable characters and relentless action. Director James Cameron's vision, combined with Stan Winston's creature effects and Sigourney Weaver's powerful performance, created a sequel many consider superior to the original. Which hidden detail surprised you most? And what film should we open next?